I'm so tired, you guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my booktube channel. Let me fix my hair. There we go. Now I look a little more presentable. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my booktube channel. Today's video is going to be a Chestnut Springs bookish breakdown. This has been a long time coming. I'm going to give you guys a complete breakdown of the Chestnut Springs series. I finished this series in June, I believe, and I'm just now getting around to doing a bookish breakdown for you guys. But as you know, my August was very hectic, and I told myself I was going to do a bookish breakdown every month of series that I complete. But I didn't complete any series in August, and like I said, August was just a very hectic month for me, so I didn't get to. I had actually filmed a Chestnut Springs bookish breakdown, and that was gonna go up. I didn't like how it turned out, so I just scrapped it for my book haul video. My book haul video went up in place of the previously filmed Chestnut Springs bookish breakdown. So we're gonna redo it today, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna be fine. But I'm gonna give you guys like a little update time with Rio. It is Sunday when I'm filming this, and I told myself that Sundays are going to be my filming days from now on. So YouTube and TikTok, they're all going to be filmed on Sundays because I found a job, you guys. Finally, after like all summer of trying to find a job, I found a job, and my job is so exhausting. I love it. It's good for me, because I personally like working. Doing too much of nothing is not good for me. I like my job. It gets me out of the house every day, and you know, I need a job obviously, but it's very exhausting. I'm on my feet all day, and like, you know, I'm not old, but also again, too much of something is also not that good. I feel like you can probably tell that I'm tired, but I still really want to film today, so I'm gonna film today. I'm gonna get my energy up for you guys. But anyway, let's get into this bookish breakdown. I'm very excited to do this one for you guys because, like I said, it's been a long time coming. Chestnut Springs. This series is very good if you want a good introduction to kind of like small town, kind of cowboy romances. I wouldn't say they're like hardcore cowboy. I would just more so say small town. Elsie Silver is the queen of small town series. Her first series is Gold Rush Ranch, which I have not read yet, but I will. I believe it's only 4 books. I don't know the order, but I'll put pictures of them. And then there's Chestnut Springs. One of the books in Gold Rush Ranch follows, I don't know her name, Violet Eaton. I think that's her name. I think it's Violet. One of them follows Violet Eaton. I'm pretty sure that's her name. If it's not, I'll write it on the screen. This series, Chestnut Springs, mostly follows the Eaton family. Not Violet, obviously, but her 3 brothers, kind of her dad a little bit, and like other people that are close to the Eaton boys. That's who this series is about. And then Elsie Silver also has a series after Chestnut Springs, which is Rose Hill, and they're all small towns in British Columbia, and they're great. Like I said, Elsie Silver is like the small town queen. She writes one hell of a small town, and she's actually starting a new series in Emerald Lake, another small town in British Columbia, after Rose Hill. The last book in Rose Hill comes out in like 2 days, I believe. Wild card. Rose Hill is going to be over, and then I'm pretty sure next year is when Emerald Lake is going to start. The first book is going to be called Fever Dream. Very exciting. I definitely think I want to try to read Gold Rush Ranch before I go into Elsie Silver's new series, because my first Elsie Silver book was actually Wild Love, which is the first book in Rose Hill. So I started out with her 3rd series, read Wild Love, and then I finally went back and read Chestnut Springs, and I've kind of been like mixing it up rather than reading the whole series at once. But regardless, I have read a lot of Elsie Silver. So I'm going to give you a complete breakdown of Chestnut Springs today because this is the only series of hers that I've finished. So like I said, this series mostly follows the Eaton brothers. We have Rhett Eaton, Cade Eaton, and Bo Eaton. And then these 2 books, Powerless and Reckless, are about kind of people that are in their lives, family, friends, yada yada. The series in order goes Flawless, Heartless, Powerless, Reckless, and then Hopeless. But this is an interconnected standalone series, so you don't have to read them in order. You don't even have to read all of them if you don't want to. I definitely, even for interconnected standalone series, I recommend reading the whole series and reading it in order. You're gonna see characters in each other's books. But starting out with Flawless, this book follows Summer and Rhett Eaton, and this book is kind of like, not a little bit of like, not enemies to lovers, but like kind of a I hate you to lovers. Rhett is a bull rider professionally, and Summer is, I believe, his agent or something like that. Yes, his agent's daughter. Rhett finds himself in a little bit of a predicament. Summer is tasked by her father / Rhett's agent to kind of look after him in a way. And, you know, he's a grown man, so he's just like, I don't need a babysitter, yada, yada, yada. And Summer starts to grow on him. That's the basic premise of this book. Summer's kind of tasked to babysit Rhett because he didn't do the best thing in the world. He kind of found himself in a little bit of a physical altercation. Summer's not the kind of person to just like, she is very sweet, but she's also just not like a, I'm gonna let you walk all over me. And Rhett found that out very quickly. And because they had to spend so much time together, feelings started forming. This is not my favorite in the series. I would actually say this is one of my least favorites. I do have one in, there's 5 books in this series. There is one below this, but I would say this is like my 4th favorite. I like the other ones more, but I definitely think this is a perfect start to the series, which is why I highly recommend for even interconnected standalone series to read the whole thing and read them in order, because I don't know if I mean, I definitely would have loved the series as a whole, but like knowing the entire story, knowing everyone's story, it makes the series so much more enjoyable. And the series is also very found family oriented in general because it follows 3 brothers. So knowing everyone's story makes the series so much better. I did not love Rhett that much. He just wasn't for me personally. I think I rated this book like 3.5 stars. It's probably more on my Goodreads, but like looking back on it, it's definitely more like a 3.5 star for me. It's not my favorite. It's definitely not the worst book I've ever read either. A lot of people love this book, and I definitely don't recommend skipping it or just not reading it in general, because it is still a good story. I may love something, you might not. So definitely still give this book a shot if you want to read the entire series. I don't think this book should be skipped over because, like I said, it is the perfect start to the series. And there's also just certain information that's like applicable to the rest of the series that you find out in here. So it would be kind of confusing for certain characters' stories if you were to read the rest of the series and not read the first book. You know what I mean? So Flawless. That's Flawless. Rhett and Summer. I rate it now at least, probably like 3.5 stars. But then we move into Heartless. This book follows Cade Eaton, who is the oldest Eaton brother, I believe, and Willa, who is Summer from the first book, her best friend. Willa is in need of a job for the summertime, and Cade has a son named Luke. So this book is single dad nanny because Cade hires Willa to be his nanny for the summer. This book was so perfect. I loved it so much. This book is my 2nd favorite, actually. I rated this book 4.75 stars, personally. I loved it. Cade and Willa meet in like the most hilarious way possible, and you just can't deny their chemistry. Like, they have so much chemistry right off the bat, especially because of the way that they meet each other. This book was perfect. Also, I just think that Willa was just such a perfect addition to Cade's little family with his son, because Cade is very grumpy. Cade is very much like grumpy, and I loved that. And Willa's very like, she's very sunshine, but she's also very much like no bullshit kind of a person. And she was another one that was just like, you're not gonna treat me like shit, and you're not gonna like disrespect me just because that's you just have this like grumpy facade going on. I'm not gonna let that ride. So I loved Willa. I loved her so much. This book was so good. Single Dad Nanny. So if you love Single Dad Nanny, I highly recommend. And this is another book where the character had a kid, or there was like a child element to the story, and I actually think the child made the story better. I feel like there's a lot of scenarios where children can kind of bring down a book, but I think this one was perfect. And this book was everything. I loved it so much. Willa kind of showed Cade that, like, even though, you know, you're not 19 anymore, you can still have fun in life. And Cade kind of showed Willa that, you know, there's comfort and you can find happiness in stability and family. Like, you don't have to constantly be moving in order to find happiness. Then we have Powerless. Powerless follows Jasper and Sloane. Jasper is a very close family friend to the Eatons. He's actually Bo Eaton's best friend. He's also a hockey player. There's not a whole lot of hockey in this book at all, but that just happens to be what Jasper does for a living. He is in the NHL, but it's not like it's a hockey romance book. I definitely don't consider this a hockey romance book. That just so happens to be what Jasper does for a living. And Sloane is actually the Eaton's cousin. She kind of grew up with them in a way. She always spent the summer in Chestnut Springs with them. So this book is childhood friends to lovers. They are best friends. They are inseparable, kind of inseparable. They both have their own lives going on, but they're also best friends and are constantly in contact with each other. But that's because they've been in love with each other their entire lives. And this book also happens to be a little bit of runaway bride, because in the beginning, Sloane is literally about to get married. And she's just like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. And Jasper, like, breaks her out of her way. This book was very cute. The only complaint that I have about this book is that I'm not a huge fan of childhood friends to lovers, mainly because I'm just like, you are as old as you are. I mean, these characters aren't like in their 40s, but they're also not like teenagers or in their very early 20s, to the point where I'm just like, you have known this person your entire life and you couldn't tell that they were in love with you. You couldn't tell that you've been in love with each other your entire lives. Come on. This man has a tattoo for her and everything. I'm like, bruh. But this book was so cute. I loved Sloane. She was one of my favorite FMCs in the whole series. Like, her family situation was very tough, which was why she always felt more comfortable in Chestnut Springs. Her character growth was amazing. I loved that. And just the way that Jasper supported her was everything, because he's been in love with her forever. This book is very cute. I don't know what I rated it when I first read it. I read this book like probably a year ago almost. I rate it 4 stars. It was very cute. It wasn't my favorite in the series because, like I said, childhood friends to lovers is not something that I fully love. Nonetheless, this book was very cute. 4 stars. And then we have my absolute favorite. We have Reckless. This is probably, other than Wild Eyes, this is my favorite Elsie Silver book that I've read. This book follows Winter and Theo. Winter is Summer's sister. They are half siblings. In Fearless, you see Winter and you see her relationship with Summer, and you know they don't really get along, and you get a little bit of background around that. Winter is kind of perceived as cold, mean. She's definitely seen as like the bitchy character who's really just like misunderstood, and then when you're in her head, you're just like, okay, damn, this girl actually really struggles, and people just don't give her the time of day to like get to know her and why she acts the way that she does. And then we have Theo. Theo happens to be, he's also a bull rider. He's kind of like Rhett's, what's the word I would say? How would you even say this? He's like, Rhett is kind of Theo's like role model in a way. Like, I can't like, there's a word I'm looking for. But basically, Theo's father was also a bull rider, and he kind of took Rhett under his wing. So now Theo's kind of under Rhett's wing in a way. So like, it's kind of like that. That's how they know each other. They're both bull riders. And Winter comes to like a family dinner. You actually see this in Powerless. And Theo's immediately just like, I want to get to know her. I want to get to know her because everybody thinks of her this certain way. And I know that that can't be true. I know there has to be more to this story. This book was so perfect. This is 5 stars. This is a 5-star masterpiece to me. And don't ever really think that any book will beat this book. This and Wild Eyes have been my only 2 Elsie Silver 5 stars. But this book is also Accidental Pregnancy, which a lot of people hate. I haven't read a lot of accidental pregnancy books, but this was one that did not piss me off because it was not one of those scenarios where the 2 characters meet. They had like an insta-lusty kind of thing and they were never going to speak to each other again, but then the girl got pregnant, so that's why they stayed together. That was not it at all. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'm telling you right now, if you don't like accidental pregnancy, I would still definitely give this book a chance because it was really good. This book is, like I said, accidental pregnancy, but also kind of reverse Grumpy Sunshine. Winter, she does have a very like rough exterior, but she's so sweet and so nice, and like just really needs someone in her corner, and Theo's so there for her. Oh my god, this book was so perfect. I love a good reverse Grumpy Sunshine. Grumpy Sunshine is probably my favorite book trope for a couple, at least individually, but reverse Grumpy Sunshine is just even better. I definitely relate to Winter so much, which is why I loved this book so much. I love Winter so much. She's one of my favorite FMCs that I've ever read, ever. She is me, I am her. Me, her, and Kennedy K from Windy City. Those are probably two of the most relatable to me FMCs that I've ever read, which is why I love both of these books so much. Please read this book. If you don't read any other one, if you're just like, I just want one book to read, let it be this one. And like I said, even if you don't like Accidental Pregnancy, I would still give this book a chance. And then last but not least, we have Hopeless. Hopeless is the last Eaton brother, Bo Eaton, who is a military man, and the small town bartender waitress girl, Bailey. This book is age gap. It's also fake fiance kind of thing. Bo is part of the Eaton family, and the Eatons are like small town royalty in Chestnut Springs. Everybody loves them, and Bailey is the exact opposite of that. Her family situation is a little bit more complicated, and nobody likes her family, so therefore people just group her in with her family, and they don't like her. So she's kind of like an outcast in this small town. Bo kind of finds himself in a situation where he's trying to get his family off his back because something very traumatic happened to him on his most recent deployment, and he is just like very shut down from everything. He's not working, he's not really doing all that much, and his family's worried about him. So he's just like, in order to get my family off my back, can you agree to be my fake fiance so that I can kind of use you as an excuse as to like where I've been and what I've been doing? He's the one that suggests this. He's just like, you can do this for me, and in return, you can use the fact that you're marrying me as a way to kind of make the town not hate you as much. I don't know. It was a very random kind of agreement. But it ended up working for them, I guess, because, I mean, it didn't work for Bailey, literally at all. No one cared that she was marrying an Eaton. It worked out for the two of them in particular because they did get closer. This book is my least favorite. I definitely liked it more than I thought I was going to, but I still didn't love it, if that makes any sense. This book is probably like 3 stars for me. It was okay. Like, I read the whole thing, and like, I had a decent time. And like I said, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because this is a lot of people's least favorite, but a lot of people like hate it. There were certain parts of this that were a little weird to me. Like, there were certain parts of like the age gap aspect of this book that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But like the plot itself, certain parts of the plot I did enjoy. I liked the characters' dynamic. Bailey kind of supported Bo in a way to where she was there for him, but also wasn't like suffocating him, to where he could like grow into this new version of himself. Because unfortunately, after that like traumatic situation he went through, he was never going to be the same person that he was before, which is, I think, why a lot of people didn't like this book, because Bo was very lively, he was very funny, he was very, you know, out there golden retriever throughout the entire rest of the series. And then in Powerless, you start hearing about things that are going on with him and how they're not hearing from him and how all of this is going wrong. And then in this book, he's a completely different person. But that kind of, you know, kind of makes sense because he did go through something very traumatic. And I just liked how Bailey was there for him. Liked seeing Bailey finally also have someone in her corner, because everyone was very against her and against her family. I liked seeing her being taken care of because she deserved to have someone, you know, kind of on her side. That being said, it was still okay. Like, it wasn't my favorite at all. Like I said, it's actually my least favorite. I don't recommend it with my full chest. I definitely think you should read this book. Also, just in terms of the series in general, in this series, you meet Harvey Eaton, who is the Eaton's father, and you get snippets of his story. And we are going to be getting a full book of him, which is another reason why I say to read the entire series, because you get so much of Harvey in this series, and he's actually amazing. He's one of the best parts of this series. And then if you're thinking of reading any other Elsie Silver after the series and you're thinking of going into Rose Hill, the way that they are connected is because Willa from Heartless, her brother is the MMC in Wild Love, which is the first book in Rose Hill. And then from there you meet Rosie, who is the FMC in Wild Love, and her brother Weston gets a book, Wild Eyes, which is my favorite. And then you just like, it's a whole nother small town vibe. But that's how the series are connected. Gold Rush Ranch, one of the books follows Violet Eaton, and then all of Chestnut Springs is more or less about the Eaton brothers. And then from there, you get Rose Hill, which starts off with one of the brothers, one of the characters in Chestnut Springs, and all of the series are connected. They're all in the same universe, and they're all really good. Well, at least I don't know about Gold Rush Ranch, but I could only assume that it's really good, because why not? Elsie Silver really knows how to write good MMCs, good FMCs, good plot points, just to die for romances, good spice. Everything about it is perfect. She is perfect. I'm definitely interested to see if she'll ever branch out from Small Town, because as of right now, she has 3 series out and 1 coming, and they're all going to be Small Town. So I genuinely wonder if she's ever going to kind of branch out from Small Town, maybe do like sports or something like that. I don't know. Here is my ranking of Chestnut Springs. We have Reckless, obviously, and then Heartless, and then Powerless, and then Flawless, and then Hopeless. This is my ranking. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people love Heartless. This is actually a lot of people's favorite. You could really find anything in here. This series is very versatile in terms of which book could be your favorite. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of people say that Powerless is their favorite. A lot of people say that Flawless is their favorite. People have different opinions on this series. It's not just like a general consensus that one book is really good and one book is really bad. I highly recommend this series, especially if you want to get into Small Town. Definitely think that Elsie Silver is kind of like the perfect gateway into Small Town, because that's all she writes. All she writes is Small Town, and they're all really fucking good. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this gave you a little bit of insight to Elsie Silver, to Chestnut Springs. Maybe once I read all of her books, I'll give you guys like a complete Elsie Silver ultimate guide. But for right now, I've only read Chestnut Springs, at least in its entirety, and I highly recommend it. It's really good. And like I said, the found family is so cute, because obviously you have the 3 brothers, but then you also have like friends. You have obviously the significant others that come into play, and everybody is just like, everyone's so there and ride or die for each other. This family is so strong, and it's amazing. One thing about me is found family, I will eat it up every time. That is my overall favorite trope, which is why I read a lot of interconnected standalone series or series in general, because I just love a good found family. If you love found family too, I highly recommend Chestnut Springs. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you guys so much, and let me know any other series or anything like that that you want any sort of breakdown or a little bit more insight into, and I can definitely do that for you. But I love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day or night or whatever time of day it is where you are. I think it's around noon for me, maybe closer to 1. I'm so tired, you guys. I feel like you can see it in my face. Like, I genuinely really wanted to film today, as well as I needed to film today, but I also really wanted to, but I'm so tired. I'm so tired. My body hurts so much from the physical labor that I've been doing for 6 to 8 hours every day for the last 4 days. I'm sleepy, but it's time to go film TikToks. I love you all.